I'm here with Randall Prescott. He's joining me for the first time ever for Alexa's Country Party. Welcome.
Hey, great to be here.
Now, this is a pretty awesome weekend for Randall because he was just inducted for the second time into the Canadian Country Music Hall of Fame. This one is a special award this time. Tell me about it in comparison to the first one.
Well, the first one, it was because it was a bass player with the family Brown. So this one, it was recognizing all the years of work with First Nations, Inuit artists, lots of great country artists. So it recognized more my, wind beneath the wings kind of category. I got in as a builder this time.
What's a builder?
Well, it's definitely not me anymore because my left hand doesn't work. I did suffer a stroke a year and a half ago, so I'm slowly getting, coming back from the brink and trying to get better. So a builder is actually, in this sense, it's not buildings. It's somebody who helps young artists, with careers, secure record deals, like I did with Patricia Conroy and Charlie Major and people like that. So it's been a fascinating life, actually. I'm writing a book.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
How's that coming along?
It's coming along good. I mean, I've had some really cool things, blessings over my life. Got to a Grammy nomination for working with Robbie Robertson from the band. I used to travel all through the Arctic and across Canada recording native groups and throat singers and be up on the shores of Great Slave Lake with 20 Dene drummers around me. So I've had some really cool experiences.
You have. And I was reading here that you're part of producing the 1988 Olympic version of O Canada, which was the first time a First Nations language was used.
Yeah.
And that was for the Olympics that were right here in Calgary. When it comes to the anthem, people always judge versions of it like crazy.
Yeah.
I feel like this version was long overdue, and I wish it had become more streamlined. Like when I heard you did it, I listened to it, and I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah. Well, it was actually done in the Shoshone language, but back then there was nowhere near the focus on First Nations. Unfortunately, it didn't get the spotlight that maybe it should have.
Yeah. Well, National Day of Truth and Reconciliation is coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So maybe I can help push it out there and remind my listeners, hey, look at Randall Prescott produced.
Well, I actually got a really nice tribute video last night from Marie Wilson, who was one of the 3 TRC commissioners. It was her and Marie and Willie Littlechild. She married into a First Nations family. Stephen Cockfoy is her husband, and he was the governor of the Yukon region up there. Sorry, NWT, not the Yukon. I'll get my buns kicked if I say
Northwest Territories.
That's right.
What have you learned from those First Nations friends of yours?
Just how big a story they really have, and how it's been kind of neglected. Obviously, it's come to the forefront. Learn how to make different teas and stuff like that. And a great sense of humor. I'm not trying to generalize, but
Of course.
specifically artists that I worked with are just so funny.
Absolutely. They need more of a spotlight.
Yeah.
I watched something recently where it was focused on a certain tribe, and I just learned so much in just a couple of minutes. I'm like, I can't imagine if they had more of a platform what all we could really learn.
Yeah.
So that was awesome. I want to talk more about your induction last night. Tell me what happened. What was your acceptance speech like?
Well, yeah, I was really afraid to talk because, as I said,
Did you get emotional?
yeah, there is that. Like, I can cry like a baby, so I don't want to do that. But a lot of times, all your brain cells aren't holding hands as well as you want them to. So every day I do 22 kilometers on my little tricycle. Well, I shouldn't say little. It's a big, fat tire trike. I look pretty bad. Can I say badass?
You can say whatever you like.
Okay, good. I look pretty badass on it. So I do that every day, and that's really helped. So I'd go out for my big run. I'd practice my speech because I knew if I didn't, I'd get up there and teleprompters and myself aren't really the best of friends. I feel like I look like Joe Biden, the president, talking to sometimes. So I wanted to come off as natural as I could. So I told my famous Willie Nelson story, and I got 2 standing ovations. So I was like, well, I don't know if they just had sympathy for me but apparently I'm looking at all the texts and emails today, so apparently it was well received, so I'm pretty glad.
Very happy for you. It must be such a light after what you've gone through the past 2 years. Like, the pandemic has been hard on everybody, and you had your health issues start at the beginning of that, I believe, right?
Oh, yeah. And the problem was I couldn't get any visitors in the hospital. You're just scared to death. Is this the first one, second one, third one coming up? So I've been very lucky since. Try and make some progress every day. But compared to, yeah, laying in the bed for 2 months in a hospital with no friends, no loved ones. God bless Tracy, my partner, and Kelly, my daughter, had to go through this whole course, primary care provider. So it was so cool. And they bring me really good food. I mean, it doesn't compare with hospital food, but you got to see Kelly in a full-on garb around her, like big yellow kind of house coat thing. And they got the face shields and the masks, and said, "Dad, I love you, I love you." So it was pretty tough to get through, but we did.
You did, and
Yeah.
you're staying pretty positive.
Yeah, well, you got to, or else, I mean, going down a dark rabbit hole. I mean, you can Google stuff, stroke results, and all this stuff, and it's just like, I don't want to go down there. So,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
staying on the high road here.
I'm glad to hear that. You were producing the CP Holiday Train Tour many, many years, which has raised over $20.6 million. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it's the most fun you could imagine too. The first couple of years, it was different. There was another producer, and they were just kind of playing karaoke tracks. I just love live music. So when CP offered me the job to produce, I said, yes, I will, on the condition that we can actually play live, because you get to some of these small communities in northern Ontario or in the prairies, and some people have been waiting 2 to 3 hours for the train to arrive. Just by the way, it is a spectacular train. We've got like 1,000,000 LED lights.
I've seen pictures. It looks so cool.
Yeah, it is so cool. So when I said, let's really light up this train, let's do some great stuff. So every year, how do you want to improve this? Well, let's do this. We change the PA. So now we have a rockin' PA. And we can get artists like Alan Doyle and Jim Cuddy from Blue Rodeo, and just lots of great artists that demand a certain PA quality. But now we can supply it, and the crowds, you get, like, we get to Hamilton, and there will sometimes be 20,000 people standing out there. So if you're just singing to karaoke tracks, it's not enough. And in some of the smaller communities, there's kids out there that have never seen a real drummer playing live or a band playing live. So it is amazing. You get like a little town way up in northern Ontario, Ignis or something like that, where the population quadruples for the show because people come from 200 miles away. And it's so cool when it's really cold at the end of a song. Instead of applause, we call it Santa Claus. All the artists just love it. We've had Dallas Smith on there, and he crossed the whole country from Montreal to Vancouver, and it's a grind. Like, you'll do sometimes 6, 7 shows a day, so it's not easy.
Goodness.
Kelly, my daughter, is taking over producing because when I got this condition, I kind of felt a little too swamped. It was like too much to think about. So
Yeah.
Kelly is one of the main producers, and my son, Kalen. I now get to sit back. I still get a paycheck, but I get to sit back, watch this all go down, and it's very cool. Yeah. For 23 years now, we've been doing it. You're really working for about a quarter of what you normally get paid. But the gratification of entertaining a big audience like that, it's just so great. And the kids are just lined up at the front, and all these little faces full of joy. We had the Moffats. They were on the stage with us. I used to shoot a lot of video too, going way back of Kelly Jem with the Moffats, and Patricia Conroy.
You need to dig some of that stuff out.
Oh, yeah, I know. Well, next year's our 25th anniversary, so we're going to dust it off and take a look at it and see
Cool.
what we can create. Yeah.
I want to come.
Oh, yeah.
That sounds
me
fun.
too. Come on board.
Come on board. All this producing and writing and the holiday train and doing music with yourself and Tracy and being part of Family Brown before that. What was it that you wanted to do as a kid? Did you always want to sing? And most people's job isn't to win all these awards. What was it that you wanted to take out of music?
It was funny because I did learn, how to read music and do all that kind of the official way to do music. And I was just so bored with it. And I started playing in live bands and stuff, and it was like, okay, to heck with the reading music, let's just jam. So playing by ear was the biggest thrill for me. And I just wanted to have fun with music and not turn it into a science and stuff. Unfortunately, it did turn into a business where I had to deal with lots of record companies, the A&R guys. You're constantly calling the radio programmers coast to coast to ask, why aren't you playing this single? What can we do to make this better for your station? So I just wanted to learn as much as I could. But at heart, I'm really a fisherman and a gardener.
Really? Really?
So yeah, as they put me out to the pasture, I'm just going to go fishing and gardening.
Your dad was also a musician.
Yeah, well, they showed a great picture last night.
Irwin?
Irwin.
I saw a picture. I Googled it.
Okay.
He has a really cool guitar.
Yeah. Back in the late 50s, early 60s, he was the opener for whenever, the Everly Brothers or Johnny Cash, George Jones, they'd come to town. So my dad would open for them, and then sure enough, late that night, he'd bring them all back to our house. So I remember waking us up. You're going to sing. Come on, sing. So I didn't know how to play guitar very much then, but I knew maybe 3, 4 chords. So we get up all sleepy-eyed and sing. I remember singing, "Think of me when you're lonely," this Buck Owens song and stuff. So little did I know, years later we toured with Johnny Cash and George Jones, and we opened for Roy Orbison, which was just a stunning moment in my career. Yeah, because we thought we were really hot stuff back then. So we opened for him. When he came on stage, we were totally forgotten. And I'd never seen an artist get standing ovations at the chorus of a song, and they would not let him end the song. He'd end it, they'd just keep applauding, so he'd sing it all again. It's been a great experience doing all that, and getting to hire some of the world's best and sit there and watch it all go down. So it's been a very rich life.
Yeah, and it's all coming together in a book.
I think so.
When did that start?
A year before I had my little stroke incident,
Okay.
I started it because Mary Simon, the Governor General now, her husband, Whit Fraser, is a good friend, and we were having dinner one time. Mary, she's from Kuujjuaq, so we used to go up there and entertain a lot. Talked to Whit, and she said, "You should really be writing a book. You've got so many stories, like going to the Willie Nelson studio, the story I told last night, all of these experiences, you should share them with people." So that's kind of what I've been doing. And even when I was laying in the hospital, I have my little recorder there, so I remember a certain incident. Just got to put it all together.
That's awesome. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I know we've been talking here for a while. I will let you go at some point, but just briefly for my listeners, tell me what the Willie Nelson story is. In a nutshell.
In a nutshell.
I don't need all the details.
I was touring with the Family Brown, and the record company called and said, "Would you produce the demos for their upcoming album?" So her brother and I did, hunkered down my little 8-track studio, got that all done, and then we found out we're going to record at Willie Nelson's studio in Texas. Down we fly, and at this point the American producers take over. So I'm on the parking lot putting the golf clubs in a bag, getting ready to go play by myself, and suddenly Willie's bus rolls into the parking lot. Door opens, and out steps Willie Nelson, comes across the parking lot and says to me, "Are you one of those Canadians that's here recording?" And I said, "Actually, no, sir, that's my wife's band." And he said, "Well, I just want to thank them for business." He said, "I've got this brand new bag of excellent pot." And he said, "Let's go in and smoke a joint with them." And I said, "Oh my God, Willie, that's not their style. Sorry, but I would love to join you." So he took me into the men's washroom, and he rolled up a joint, and we had a couple of puffs. Then I said, "Would you please come into the control room and meet Tracy?" So in we go, and we're smelling like Dallas Smith's dressing room at this point, basically. But I said, "Hey, everybody, meet my buddy Willie Nelson." Now, Tracy's in the vocal booth. She has no idea what's going down, and so Willie's kind of goes, "Man, that girl can sing. Do you mind if I go sing a harmony part?" And I said, they got the American producers sitting there. I said, "Yeah, you go ahead and sing the harmony part. You're not supposed to do that," but he did it anyway. He sang a great part, played his famous guitar, a couple of solos. We got some pictures, said our goodbyes, and then a couple of months later got a call again from BMG, RCN. They said, "Thank you for bringing your friend Willie Nelson in." Just met him, but I didn't say no. I said, "Yeah, sure, that's great." He goes, "Would you produce the next Family Brown album? Not the demos, but you get to produce a whole album." So that began my career working with most of the major labels in Canada and Capitol down in the States. So it was a real blessing, and all because of smoking in the boys' room with Willie. So
wow, you never know what's going to happen.
That's right.
Never know.
That goes in my book.
That goes in the book, and
That's
hopefully
right.
the picture goes in the book too.
Yes, yeah,
You've got the
absolutely.
picture ready?
Yeah, we do.
Good.
Yeah.
Alrighty. Well, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Alexa.
Congratulations once again
Thanks
on
so
your
much.
second Country Music Hall of Fame induction.
Thanks so much.